So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Just said we jump on because it's kind of been a strange week. There hasn't really been much going on, but it feels like we should have done a podcast. It feels like, I don't know, maybe I'm addicted to this whole thing. I'm not 100% sure. But I was just sitting at home today and I was kind of going, yeah, Jesus, should do a podcast, should do a podcast. And I suppose there's been a bit going on during the week. Paddy is here. Before we go into that, Paddy, how's life treating you?
Not too bad. Bit of a boring old weekend. Absolutely no love for this FA Cup. So, watched a few minutes of Liverpool today and saw Cardiff should have been a penalty and wasn't given. If Liverpool got them, they got them all day. So I turned it off. Didn't watch any more football today. Watched a bit of rugby. Actually, I did watch football today. I watched the women play at 6:00 against West Ham. So I figured that was better than any FA Cup games that were absolute rubbish and garbage. But fair play to Boreham Wood. They beat Bournemouth this evening, and that's probably the result of the round. But yeah, it's kind of a second-class tournament now. I just have no love for it anymore.
You've no love for it when we're not in it. I think the biggest thing was, I thought the biggest performance of the weekend was Kidderminster Harriers. Like football is unjust at times, and for them to concede a goal in I think it was the 93rd minute to Declan Rice, and then to concede a goal in injury time in extra time to Jared Bowen, like double excruciating heartbreak for Kidderminster, who were by far the better team throughout the whole lot of the game. So it's just one of those things. But look, as I say, we weren't in the FA Cup this week. That's the only FA Cup game I watched myself. Is a bit of rugby, bit of Gaelic games this weekend, bit of recalibration before we go hell for leather over the next couple of weeks, Paddy, until the international break, because there's 5 games coming up, and that is absolutely huge. Before we get into the podcast here, I keep on forgetting to mention these people, and they're fantastic partners with us here on the podcast. That is the Spond app, SPOND. If any of you guys are organizing anything, I've said it to you before, whether you're organizing a team, an organization, a group of people or anything, Spond is very, very is a very good application. Please check it out. It's available on iOS and on Android. You can use it for creating group events. You can use it for group messaging. You can use it for accepting payments as well. If I don't know whether you're accepting registration or anything like that, but the Spond app, really, really great app. I would implore you all to go down and download it for free. Doesn't cost you anything. There's no subscriptions on it or anything like that. And you can see if you like it. And if you like it, continue to use it. And so that's Spond, and you can get it on iOS or Android devices. So that is, and they're very, very good partner here with this podcast as well. So yeah, a couple of things happened, I suppose, over the course of the last week, Paddy. And I did have great aspirations of trying to do it in alphabetic or chronological order, but I can't remember when each little piece happened. So I'm just going to get cracking and kind of go. Let's talk about a small bit of the transfer rumors that we had. Paddy Cash, that Atletico Madrid piece isn't going away, and I know the window is closed, but it's not going anywhere. And there's a lot of big people talking about it, and I know we're 4 months away from the window, 5 months nearly away from the window opening again. But Paddy, what are your views on that? And I suppose it's testament to Matty Cash coming to Aston Villa, playing the best football of his career, getting called up to the Polish national team, and now you have Champions League teams and La Liga's winners last year looking to rock up and pay money for him. So what's your views on that, Paddy?
Well, it appears to be a lot of hearsay really at the moment. There's no real substance to it. We haven't, as you say, the transfer window's closed. There's very little they can do. So for now, he's our player. If the management team see fit to sell him in the summer, I think there's only a couple of players left that would really break my heart if they went. Maybe John McGinn and Emi Martinez. But look, every player is replaceable. if they feel that they're getting a good deal for the club and a good deal for future transfers, maybe it's the way to go. Not that I was saying by any stretch of the imagination that we should sell Matty Cash. He's been brilliant since he came in. It could be better in the final third for me, but other than that, he's been fantastic.
Yeah, it's and the reason I'm bringing up the Matty Cash piece is because there was strong interest in Douglas Luiz, and we're transitioning towards a team whereby, clubs are going to start looking at our players and going to want to sign them, and they may want to drop big money. We may see players leave for regularly leave for 25, 30, 35, 40 million euros, pounds, whatever the denomination that they're, depending on the country they're being sold to. And I suppose it's one of the things that I think over the next few weeks, as we tend to hear these, that they're going to be worth talking about, even though, as you say, they are idle speculation at the moment. They're going to be worth talking about because I have thoughts on, the way some people say, oh, we're a selling club, or we don't want to go down the route of Southampton and stuff like that. And there's very much an awful lot of merit in that. But I think specific positions, and positions is the wrong word. I think specific situations, should I say, need to be, considered. And I think that I think that some of them may not have any merit and some of them may have merit as well. But for me, I don't want to lose Matty Cash. I want to keep that back four. I'd love to have an Arsenal of the mid-90s situation where your goalkeeper and your back four just stay together forever. And then I wouldn't have no problem if we became boring. 1-0 to the Villa was the song that we sing as well. But like our back four for me, our back five for me are pivotal. So, you don't really want to see Matty Cash going anywhere. You'd like him to grow into his position. And we've got a group of guys there that are all under 30. Some of them a lot under 30, some of them not. So it's there's longevity. Like there's 3, 4, 5 years left. Well, there's 3 or 4 years, I suppose, left in that back four. And I want to be the ones that reap the benefits of it. And for him to stay for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit, I suppose, Paddy, as well. Like this isn't going to be a really long podcast, but I just the two games that we had over the course of the week, Paddy, were very I suppose they kind of show where Steven Gerrard feels that we are. And I suppose the fact that it kind of highlights an awful lot of the fact that we really haven't had a full squad to kind of even train together, I suppose, under Steven Gerrard. And Steven Gerrard felt the need to have two behind closed doors games, one against Brentford and one against Mold of the Norwegian League. And we'll start off with the Brentford game, Paddy. We don't know a whole lot about it. We know that it was even difficult to get a full squad listing of who lined out. But we did have we did win 2-1. Goals from Ollie Watkins, nice to see him scoring, and also Tyrone Mings from a header. But I suppose, Paddy, getting games like that in an international window is difficult enough. But to get a game of the caliber of Brentford, I suppose it's intelligent because while Brentford are a team on the up, they would have had a lot of their players staying back at home, to train and to be with the team because they didn't have an awful lot of internationals away. So I suppose being opportunistic to try and get that game time is it's kind of quite telling towards what Steven Gerrard's management style and maybe what his coaching team want to implement on the field. And they're not quite seeing it there yet. Yeah,
but and look, it's an opportunity for players. We saw like Tommy O'Reilly, isn't it? The young lad played it. Yeah. Tim Erugbinam played. Callum Chambers seemed to get a good bit of game time in the Mold game. I believe the Mold game was supposed to be Derby, but they pulled out of it and Mold filled in fairly short notice. So
I don't think Derby were happy with us after we snatched their
Mr. Kellyman.
Kellyman, yeah, I couldn't even think of his name. I was there. Is it Paddy? Is his first name Paddy? I know it's something to do with Paddy's name. Oh, because you messaged me about it. And you said it's the closest I'll have to Kelly on the back of my jersey.
Yeah, but look, it's important. There's probably some players there that managed to get some game time in that system, and to be able to call on the likes of young Tim or Tommy or Callum Chambers or whoever that is, getting a few minutes in the squad. Carney played a good bit. He was all action for the highlights of the Mold game that we could see. He was involved in one of the goals against Brentford. And two decent enough oppositions. It wasn't the usual Walsall and those that we play in the summer. So it's look, it's important game time. There's a few players in there that needed game time. Another person who needed game time was Mr. Coutinho, who got game time and got an absolute cracker, as I think it was someone mentioned it in the comments there a few minutes ago. What a goal! I hope we see a few of them in Villa Park and indeed away from home this season.
Technique was superb, yeah. And look, it was like one of those great things about when you bring in Philippe Coutinho, it's Aston Villa's Philippe Coutinho scores an absolute belter for Brazil, and like that reverberates around the world. You know, the fact that he's scoring a goal like that in the tournament, he's scoring it in as well, obviously. But the fact that it's Aston Villa's Philippe Coutinho, there's untold or there's unimaginable kind of value linked to that. To be that to have that kind of PR the world over, which is I suppose which is a lot is rooted in the signing of Coutinho as well as what he can do in the field.
And one of the fan sites put a fairly on the money photo of us taking a free kick against Everton, where we had two Brazilian internationals and a French left back standing over the free kick. So that's the caliber of what we're attracting to the club. So, you know, we're going in the right direction. And, you know, if Philippe Coutinho can come in and have 4 or 5 months of magic here and continue on into next year, we can build a team around that little maestro. And not to mention our other little maestro is Emi Buendia, who's been great in the last few weeks. So there's a lot going on there. I'm looking forward to the next 4 games because I think they're 4 winnable games. I don't expect us to win all 4. I'll settle for 3. But I think they could be a springboard to our season if we go and got 4 positive results out of them.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. And you mentioned something there about having two Brazilians and a French international standing over the ball. But like, you know, depending on we're recording this as in the 107th minute between Egypt and Senegal in the AFCON final, Trezeguet has come on and they're just in normal time on the hour mark. But and watch me now just absolutely completely never put the kibosh on him. But we could potentially have a Copa America winner in Martinez. We could potentially have an AFCON winner in Trezeguet, along with all these people. So what I'm talking about here is that, like, you know, winning even with your international team is, you know, that's a character building experience. And the more of those you have within the team, the better it becomes. And these players are like Martinez would not have been in that squad or being the first choice goalkeeper for Argentina had it not been for his exploits with Aston Villa. Trezeguet would likely be in that Egyptian team, and I know he's only coming off the bench, but obviously injuries have curtailed his recent his last season. But you know, he's getting there on the back of Aston Villa Football Club, and once again, this is what I'm talking about. When you've got teams winning, when you've got international teams winning with Aston Villa Football Club players in them, that is once again big for the club. So. Yep. It's still 0-0 in that game, 109 minutes gone. I'm not going to jinx it because I had a tweet ready to go in the Kidderminster game. Twice I had a tweet ready to go and I didn't send it. And twice I was made look like a stupid idiot. But it was only to myself because I didn't send the tweet. So I'm not going to go down that route. But you know, it's a huge piece, and you can see where the thoughts of, yes, I know that we've bought a lot of young players and the likes of Konza in windows past, Matty Cash, we mentioned him before, Douglas Luiz, John McGinn was a young player when we bought him, etc., etc. And now we're filling it in with these experienced guys, and we're having a nice blend within the team as those younger players are now beginning to come of age and get into their experience or into their prime years, which is fantastic. But we had a second game as well, Paddy, against Mold, and sorry, actually, before we go on to it there, and I think it was Tommy O'Reilly played against Mold, actually, and it wasn't against Brentford, but Tommy O'Reilly is kind of someone who's come out of left field in a way whereby, you know, he hasn't been one of them big names, the Aaron Ramseys and those, the guys who've gone out on loan. And Tommy O'Reilly has stepped in for the under 18s this season. He's only 18, and he stepped in for the under 18s this season. He's actually scored 5 goals for them. You know, so he's he seems to be somebody that obviously they trust and they brought in, and I know they needed bodies to fill in for people being away. He's an attacking midfielder, central midfielder, bit in the slighter side from what I've seen of him. But fair play to him, he really cherished I suppose being in and around the first team and stuff, and he was posting about it on Twitter all day yesterday as well. So fair play to him, and what's the point in having new players there if you can't use them, or if you aren't comfortable, or if you're unconfident in calling them up, even if it is for a friendly game. But he was called up for that friendly game against Mold, and Aston Villa running out 3-1 winners. Jacob Ramsey scored a lovely goal with his left leg. John McGinn scored another brilliant goal, like just passed it into the back of the net. Well, when I say passed it, it was a bit more than passing it into the back of the net. It was a real
placed it.
I think is probably a better word. Yeah, and then Ollie Watkins getting ahead to the ball. And to be honest with you, from the angle I saw it, I have no idea how he scored that goal. It must have been a really good header. Either that or the goalkeeper made a blunder, but it was a really good header. But once again, it's 2-2 for Ollie Watkins in this off period that we've had, and that can only be good for Aston Villa, because he's been much maligned this year because things haven't been working for him. And maybe we start Ings, maybe we start Watkins. Watkins has scored 2 goals in two friendly games, and he was the incumbent prior to this break. So for me, that's a real positive out of this last week.
Yeah, but unfortunately for him, he's got to take it into the real games now. He's got to step up to the plate and get a couple of goals for us. Like I said all last year when he wasn't scoring, I was happy once there was goals coming from elsewhere. But we're gonna need a striker to trump up with goals, and it's got to be him or Ings, or we could be looking at a change again in the summer. There's a lot of heavy breathing about it, that he could bring in an old head to play up front. So look, we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But I think this is an important month for Ollie Watkins. I think it's time for him to step up and get a few goals with the fixtures we have ahead.
Yeah, I think stability for Ollie Watkins is going to be huge. I think stability behind him, number one, and then also stability of him playing up top on his own. It's not been the easiest season for him. Like, obviously getting injured against Salernitania at the end of preseason, missing the first couple of games, then being shunted out to the left, being played on the right, being played through the center, and I'm not excusing that. Look, he's a former winger; he should be able to move between those.
Yeah,
but you've changed manager in the middle of the season. A lot of these things, I very much get the feeling that people like Watkins, and to be honest with you, I think people like Ings, they need to have how am I going to say? They need to have familiarity to the play, specifically Watkins, because I don't think Watkins is a sprinkle a bit of magic dust and make something out of nothing type player. I think Watkins is very much the kind of guy, tell him what to do, he'll do it. Tell him what to do, he'll do it. But also, you need to tell him what to do and tell him what the other people behind him are doing, and he'll do it. And I think that's probably not news to anybody when you look at him. And that can be difficult when you've got change of regimes in the middle of the season, and also when you've got various combinations of players playing behind you. So once again, not excuses for him or anything, but it's just context, I suppose, more so than anything else. Not context, but like I think that's probably something whereby obviously Jared wanted to get those 2 games, and the fact that we scored more than 1 goal in both games, I think is a positive, because of the fact that I think that's what they were there for. It's not really for our defensive structure, because we were missing players that were gone on international duty. It's not for our midfield structure, because we're missing players who gone on international duty. But I think it was specifically for it, to see if we could get strikers and get goals firing in the team. And we scored 5 and 2. So, like, if we can take that into the Premier League, as you said, and if Watkins can take it into the Premier League, I think it's going to be a huge piece.
I think realistically speaking, for Ollie Watkins now, with the backup that's there, and with the fact that we have Buendia, Coutinho, Carney, he's either playing up front or he's not playing. So it's a big month for him. And don't get me wrong, I really want them to succeed. I really love the two of them to succeed. I'd love to see them alternate between, depending on the opposition, to have either Ings or Watkins there. For someone who plays a high line, I would have, to be able to change it after 60 minutes and bring on fresh legs to run at that high line would be great. But look, we'll just have to wait and see. I think the way we're putting pressure on teams, we're not seeing too many high lines either.
No, I don't think so either. I think the high line in the Premier League has been I can't think of a team that really plays it this season. Not even
Chelsea,
Liverpool have
maybe.
been
That's
playing
about
it.
it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and it's an interesting one, and like majority of the time they play three at the back anyway. So you would be playing almost a sweeper, I think, a lot of times. So it's an interesting one. But look, as I say, they're the solutions. They're the problems that we need to find solutions for. They're the problems that I'm sure Mick Beale, Stephen Gerrard, Gary Mack, all the rest of the guys that are in there, Aaron Danks, are trying to find those solutions for that attacking play out in the field. And if teams are going to come and play deeper and not play the high line like a lot of teams did last season, well then feed Coutinho more, get them into those half spaces, get them into get them dropping deep, make sure that we're pulling their defensive midfielders back, so that if we're pulling their defensive midfielders back for Buendia and for Coutinho, well then where have we got the space in the middle of the field? If we do have the space in the middle of the field there, make sure Douglas Luiz has the confidence to go forward with it or knows what he's doing. Not that he doesn't, but what I'm saying is that no matter, there should be various game plans within there, and I'm sure every team does have it, but the high line versus a deeper line this season has been something that's been quite notable. But if Ollie Watkins can only play against the high line, then there's a completely different question to be asked there. And we won't get into it too much, as I say, because it's not a critique in anyone. But Paddy, there was a social media kind of, like, we've heard nothing on this, and I think it's probably a lot of it might be nonsense, but there was a social media post going around that was shared wildly, I think, about Buendia getting injured. I've heard absolutely nothing more on that. So I think for the time being, I'm going to file it under likely not true. Actually, you haven't heard anything on that, have you?
I think more than likely not true. I think he may have gone off in the game, which is perfectly natural, but I don't think there was.
He goes off in most games injured anyway with his arm.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything in it, and if there was, we'd have heard about it by now, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Well, maybe sometimes they want to see what the extent is, but I don't. Maybe he might have gone off. I don't know. I haven't seen any confirmation on that, but it would be a huge blow if
he did post himself. He did post himself to say it was good to get more minutes or something along those lines. So
good to be back. Good to be back. Exactly. And Paddy, we've had a rake of people who've been out on loan as well. I just see a couple of the names there. Keenan Davis is turning into prime fucking Harry Kane at the moment. For Forest. Fair play to him.
Without the goals.
I think he's got 2 in his last 3, if I'm not mistaken. I
couldn't get any today, though, did he?
He couldn't get any today against Leicester. Right? He did. Yeah, he took a punch in the face, didn't he?
He did.
Fucking muppet getting on the field.
It looked like he got one back in on him as well, which fair play to him.
Yeah, it should be a free for all. If a fella comes onto the field and does that, you should be allowed to take off your boot and mash him into the ground. But that's my views on it as well. And then the little prick was smiling all over the place then when he was getting off. It was being escorted off the field. I don't know. People here might know him. If you do, tell him I think exactly that of him. But like, that's stupid. Like, who thinks that they've got that type of authority to run on the field when they're losing? I think it was after the 4th goal went in as well. And then to run on and try and punch someone. Yeah. He should get a good hiding somewhere as well himself. But
his own fans should take him in and give him a good hiding as well.
Look, is what it is. That's not our fight to fight, I suppose, really. That's their fight to fight, but just a call out. He's a bit of an idiot. But he's flying it. Keenan Davis is flying it. And Steve Cooper is, he's managing his way out of that league.
I'd love to see them go up, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great to see them back in the top flight. They're a big club, like ourselves in the doldrums for a while. They're one of the ones I definitely love to see them go up ahead of the likes of Baggies or someone like that. So yeah, it's kind of like 80s and 90s Notts Forest. We'd love to see them back up there.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a nice short trip for us to go and play them as well. So, and it's a nice away day.
Yeah,
I think I went to, don't tell anybody that might be in the house here. I think I went to Hooters when I went to Notts Forest last. Who knew there was a Hooters in Nottingham?
I have to put the 18s plus sign on this podcast, Paddy, before we finish off now, because but no, Nottingham's actually a great place. I went out in Nottingham. I think I went out one night in Nottingham, and then the next day I ended up in Lincoln. To put the two of those together. Once again, a podcast for another day. We've got more people on loan though than Keenan Davis. Cameron Archer can't stop scoring. Like, that man just scores goals. That's all he does. All he's good for is scoring goals. I remember that was labeled. That was a detraction that was labeled at a lad that I used to play soccer with before. All he's good for is scoring goals. Oh, Jesus. That little thing, is it? But Cameron Archer, another goal again today, and a brilliant finish. Like, playing against that whole team, it was just a superb finish. Great ball into him, just took it down, bang. Just give me the ball, put it back in the net. Yeah, no bother to me. He's just a natural finisher. I likened him, and I thought I was going to take some flack about it. And I likened him on Twitter before to like Nicholas Anelka. Just the way Nicholas Anelka used to just finish. That's all he used to do. Just finish the ball. It's fantastic. And Cameron Archer does exactly the same. He expects to score.
And look, it's great that he's doing it at that level. You know, we've had players out at lesser level. He's been out at lesser level and didn't exactly tear up any trees. So did well with us at the start of the season. Was our top scorer here for a while. So it's great. I think he's 2-3 now, especially scoring against West Brom last week, which was fabulous. So good for him. Good for morale, and bodes well for the future.
Louis Barry as well, another guy who's getting minutes at Swindon, but Exeter came back. I think Swindon won 1-0 up, and Exeter came back with 2 late goals. But Louis Barry came on last 20 minutes or so, which is good, which is more than he was getting at Ipswich. So he'll feel his way into that team, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does there as well. And Arjun Reiki as well. He was playing for Grimsby against Notts County. That's a real football league fixture in my view. Grimsby versus Notts County is that to me is like that's one for the traditionalist, isn't it? I like it. I always imagine those teams on a Subbuteo table, because they feel like two teams that would have been big. There should be Subbuteo teams there of them, because they're just traditional teams, I think. But apparently he absolutely nailed it in his performance. Well, apparently he played really, really well. Got the full 90 minutes there for them as well. So it's good. It's good to see players going out on loan. But it's good to see them going out on loan now and actually getting minutes, because it's first part of the season they didn't really, specifically Reiki and Louis Barry.
Yeah.
But long may it continue. Long may it continue indeed. Jed Steer also played as well, played in goals against Cambridge for Luton. Kept the clean sheet.
Clean sheet too, yeah. 3-0 win.
3-0 win.
So, we're leaving anyone out? Tarek Wright.
Did Tarek Wright get game time?
Debut. Yeah. He played for Colchester. They beat Leyton Orient 1-0. So he started the game and then was taken off late on. So good to see him getting a run out.
Yeah. He's a man that just, no matter where he goes on loan, he just gets minutes, because he's a good player.
Yeah. And you know what? It's no harm to see him come up a little bit in the leagues. But I'd like to see him, if he doesn't make it back into our first squad next season, to maybe go out in the championship and see what he's made of next year.
Yeah. That's true. Actually, I'd put in there as well. The Caleb Chukwuemeka was subbed on and subbed off 6 minutes later in tactical substitution because Livingston were up 2-1 or something. I remember that.
Really?
But that doesn't seem to be going great for him up there though. Manager called him out not so long ago as well about maybe work ethic or something like that, and which to me was really strange because he signed him. So I don't know. Maybe it might be one of those. I don't know, one of those reverse psychology things.
Possibly. It's a difficult place to go and score goals as well. So he's if he's struggling, it's no slight on his character. He might need a little bit of time to settle up there.
But and that's true as well. Because he's playing in the Scottish Premiership. Which. Arguably, look, and I know there's people going to flood into the chat here saying, that's only League One level or whatever like that, but it's not. It's probably a better level than that. It's probably somewhere lower Championship level, for some teams. Obviously we play against Celtic and Rangers. Once again, up for debate here, guys. But we play against Celtic or Rangers. We're playing against mid-tier Premier League teams, lower tier Premier League teams. Depending on how way you see it. So he will come up against some good opposition in that league, and it was certainly better opposition than he did when he played with Northampton. So it's it is a step up for him, and certainly better opposition than he would have got when he was playing with the 23s. So maybe it might just be a growing up curve for him as well. And look, he took on the challenge, so hopefully he's up to it, and he goes up there and he finds his feet over the end of the season, starts scoring goals. I don't really think there's much else to go through, Paddy.
Don't think so.
No, don't think
the
so
women
either.
lost 2-1 tonight. They're still a little bit toothless up front. Alicia Lehman scored a penalty just after half-time to level it up, but I was kind of half watching it because I was watching something else at the time, but had it on the iPad watching it, and you know what, the coverage on the FA Player for women's football is absolutely brilliant. So if you haven't got it, download that app, because it's nice when there's nothing else to watch to be able to watch Aston Villa, regardless of whether it's the women or the men. There was FA Cup games on it today, but I chose to watch that game. So I've actually watched a good bit of them throughout January. I think I've watched all but one of their games, so I've kind of got to know them all by name now at this stage. So it goes to show what things have been like here in Ireland, and we haven't been able to go too many places because we were in lockdown most of January. But yeah, it's nice to be able to watch something when there's nothing else on. I know a lot of them clash with our own match days, so it was nice to watch it today when there was nothing else happening.
Yeah, and Paddy, it's all right. It was okay. You could have said you were watching the Irish version of Dancing with the Stars as well, while it was on. No one would have thought any worse of you, because you definitely were. Like, that's exactly
I was actually watching The Sinner.
The Sinner.
We're binge watching the new series of The Sinner. Brilliant. Absolutely.
Is there a new
brilliant
series of it? Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I've only got stuck into the last season of Ozark there over the weekend, but finding time to podcast and to watch Netflix series is a difficult ordeal at this moment in time. But we'll get there.
I think the fact that we're talking about Netflix means there's very little to talk about at the moment.
No. I saw that. I think I saw Ty Bracey was petitioning for Amazon Prime to do a Villa Till I Die documentary for next season. Yeah, so maybe we might have something to talk about in streaming services for next season. Who knows? Who knows?
I'm just.
But yeah, I think that's going to do it, Paddy. I think that's going to do it, guys. We will be back. I suppose tomorrow night, Paddy. We will preview Leeds preview. I suppose once we know more, we'll probably get a presser out of Stephen Gerrard tomorrow, and we'll be back with some chat. We deliberately haven't gone into the Leeds chat here. I suppose we will know more tomorrow once the beat writers get out there and start finding out more about maybe any potential niggly injuries, people coming back from their respective international tournaments and so on, and we'll know more about what kind of a squad we have. But either way, we'll be going into Leeds wanting to win, probably needing to win, I suppose, as well, if we're to keep our charge up the league going. And we'll be back with you tomorrow to chat on that as well. I think that's going to do it. Just before I go again, guys, check out the Spond app, SPOND. It's like pond with an S at the start. You never know, might be for you. But until tomorrow, guys, stay safe, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.